Frank Klose from 97.3 ESPN.com covers the Phillies. His mailbag is open for business every Tuesday, and he jumps on the Boardwalk Honda hotline now to talk a little Phillies baseball as the Phillies kind of lost in the sauce here with the draft and, you know, the Sixers in the playoffs. Little do people know, Frank, the Phillies are in first place.
Yeah, it's funny. When I posted about this mailbag, I had to go back and ask again because I think people were pretty busy with the Sixers and the Eagles, and why not be busy with them?
Right. Those teams have really kind of taken us over right now. But the Phillies, after not playing so well and people kind of saying, what happened to that hot start? They won 3 straight against the Marlins there, but they beat the Marlins. But 16-12, first place, 2 games up. And one thing that they've done, Frank, is played well at home. 11-5 at home, 5-7 on the road. And, the Phillies get a chance now to – and Gabe Kapler talked about this the other day, kind of get this day off and get healthy again. They really haven't had a full lineup here recently.
Yeah, unfortunately, they've been out with some of their key pieces. Gene Segura, you saw an immediate impact the moment he returned to the Phillies lineup. Being able to bat Segura second allows JT Realmuto to go back to batting fifth, and then all of a sudden, your 6-hole hitter is your center fielder, or in the case of the lineup the last couple of days, Nick Williams playing some left field with Andrew McCutchen in center. And then Hernandez can bat seventh, where he's had some success, and then you can bat Maikel Franco eighth. I mean, that's an entirely different lineup than if you're without Gene Segura right there in the 2-hole.
Yeah, by the way, I did not like them using Realmuto in the 2-hole. I thought they should have just kept him at the 5-hole and maybe moved Hernandez there or somebody. They had a couple of options. I thought they should have just stuck with Realmuto in the 5.
I agree with you, or what I would have done is I would have just moved Harper up to 2 and Hoskins right behind him and Realmuto right behind him because, either you have to put a weaker hitter second or you lose that protection behind Hoskins that was serving him so well. And if Realmuto is batting second, you kind of lose that.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Frank. All right, let's dive into the mailbag today and see what our listeners have. John wants to know if Cole Irvin, is he destined to become another J-Happ, a crafty lefty the Phillies hate so much they drive him away to succeed in another organization? And I'll further that, is he a guy that can maybe help this team later on in the year?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I think we needed to go back and look at what happened with J-Happ. The Phillies did not hate J-Happ. Interesting word choice that he has there. And the Phillies weren't down on J-Happ when they traded him. Now, if we remember back in 2010, the Phillies picked up Roy Oswalt, who was an ace pitcher for the Houston Astros for many years. And if you trade for a great player like Roy Oswalt, the team wants something good in return. Now, let's remember, too, that J-Happ did not have success for another 5 years after that trade. If you look at his ERAs as he was with Houston, his first full season with Houston, he had a 5.35 ERA. Then the next year, he's 7-9 with a 4.83 ERA. They trade him to the Toronto Blue Jays, and he has similar results there. It really wasn't until he went to Seattle and then to Pittsburgh did J-Happ really start to figure it out, and he's been on a roll ever since. And J-Happ was not something that the Phillies could tolerate if they were going to be winning, because remember, that was in the middle of their big stretch. So having J-Happ find himself for 5 years while the Phillies were trying to win wasn't probably the best thing for the organization then. So major props to J-Happ for putting together a really nice career after that, and that's why the Phillies were interested in him this offseason. Now, when you look at Cole Irvin, I think there could be one similarity there. I think Cole Irvin is somebody who the Phillies are high on. I just want to remind people that when it came time for the Grapefruit League opener, they picked Irvin to start it, and I think that's not the same as starting opening day for the Major League team, but I think they kind of wanted to say to him, hey, look, we think highly of you, and we'd like to see what you have to offer first. And then, even though we went down to minor league camp as major league starters started starting, they gave Cole Irvin one more start. They called him back over from the minor league camp, and he started towards the end. So because they wanted to see more of Cole Irvin. Right. So since Cole Irvin's gone to AAA, he's been pretty good. I mean, he's 2-0, and his ERA is only 1.82. That's 5 starts. 18 strikeouts and 29 2/3. He could end up in a situation like J-Happ where it's not that the Phillies hate him, but if the Phillies have an opportunity at the trade deadline to acquire somebody whether it's a left-handed veteran, the Madison Bumgarners of the world, the Robbie Rays of the world, or Mike Minor, that team might want somebody like Irvin back in the deal. Somebody who can be a left-handed pitcher in their rotation right away, and he can kind of come up with them and get settled into the major leagues while the Phillies are trying to win a playoff race. So I think that Irvin will probably be up in the majors at some point this year. I could see him being part of a trade, but I don't think it's because anybody hates him. I think they're very, very high on him, and somebody will see Cole Irvin in the major league soon.
All right, Frank, I think a lot of people want to know this answer. Is it time that the Phillies move on and give up on Roman Quinn? He can't stay healthy, man.
Yeah, this is a really unfortunate situation. It seems like every time that there might be an opportunity, as we've seen injuries in the Phillies outfield in recent years, Roman Quinn is not available when they need somebody. And the sad thing is, it's not just he has one particular medical issue that keeps rearing its ugly head. It's issue after issue after issue. Sometimes it's a hamstring strain. Other times, he has a broken bone in his hand, or this time it's a groin strain. And there are many, many other, I think he strained his oblique too with one of these injuries. So these are injury after injury after injury. And since he happened to be ready to come back as Odubel Herrera was going on the injured list, this was his chance. And it was a double disappointment because when he got his opportunity, he struggled at the plate when he was with the Phillies, and then off he goes again with another injury. So I think at this point, the Phillies as contenders, this is a Phillies outfield that isn't trying to start both Nick Williams and Aaron Altherr anymore. They're your bench players. So there's not a lot of room in an outfield that features, Andrew McCutchen and Bryce Harper for somebody to come and go randomly like this. And there's no more minor league options on his contract. So the Phillies can't even stash him in the minor leagues until they need him. So I can see there being a situation this year, maybe later. The stars could align perfectly, and the Phillies have a roster spot available when he's ready to come back, and Quinn might get a chance. But if they're forced to decide between him and a veteran they're going to acquire in a trade, I can see the Phillies moving on. So it's a tough break. Really great guy, lots of talent, but at some point the Phillies need some certainty.
That question was from listener Jeremy, and now Frank wants to know, this one's interesting too, how much longer can the Phillies tolerate Cesar Hernandez?
Now, this question is from my own father, so he's been growing frustrated like a lot of Phillies fans in recent times. And, I think the Phillies are seeing, I think the thing that really caught their attention was perhaps the mental mistakes in recent days. If you noticed, Zach Eflin the other day is cruising along, and a very playable ball for shortstop Gene Segura to get the final out in an inning, and Cesar Hernandez cuts it off and is able to get no out and a run scores, the only run that Zach Eflin gave up that day. That seems to be kind of compounded to the stretch earlier in the season where Hernandez was not hitting because he put together a stretch where he was 2 for 22. And, of course, that's not going to cut it in the major leagues. But as we stand here today, Hernandez is batting .267. That's okay for a 7-hole hitter. His defense overall, though he's had some blunders, it's still above average. And right now the alternatives are the likes of Phil Gosselin, who we've seen a little bit of, and he hasn't shown much with his bat just yet, and Sean Rodriguez, who's a very good sub, but the Phillies probably need him here and there and everywhere. So aside from like a start here or there, the Phillies don't have another option beside Hernandez or a better option. And let's remember too that when Scott Kingery comes back, if he can play at the level he was playing, I think in a way the Scott Kingery success so far this season might be driving people to turn against Hernandez because, if Scott Kingery is playing like he was playing earlier this year, you want him in the lineup. And if Cesar Hernandez is there, that seems to be the spot that you would have to put Kingery. And I think that's where Kingery will end up long term. This is the last year of Hernandez's contract. Maybe he's pressing a little bit. That's leading him to make some of these errors he didn't make in the past. But Scott Kingery is probably going to inherit second base next year. And if he comes back from his injury hot, I think he could start to chip away at that playing time now.
Yeah,
especially if we see some struggles from Hernandez.
They gave him some money, right? They paid him that contract. And at some point, last year he played not very well. At some point, you want to see him start to play into that contract more sooner than later, I would think.
That's true, and the contract is very reasonably priced over the length of it. He's not costing them a lot of money right now. Now the Phillies are spending $7 million on Cesar Hernandez for this year, so I think they want to use that contract right now first and foremost. But I think that they do have him in their long-term plans. I think if he's hitting especially, they're going to find ways to play him, whether it's in the outfield, whether it's at second base. As the season goes on, if they have more stretches like this without days off,
right,
you're going to want to rest Gene Segura, you're going to rest Maikel Franco, even if they are playing well. So hopefully he gets back from the injury, because that's the one piece in all of this that really is keeping the Phillies from kind of coming up with a definitive answer. I still think Cesar Hernandez is a talented player. My one critique about him was he never figured out how to use his speed on the base paths. But he's still better than the options they have, and I think we're going to see more and more Kingery as time goes on.
All right, Frank Klose, you can always check him out on Twitter at Frank Klose, and get your Phillies mailbag questions every Tuesday here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. Phillies and the Tigers, a little interleague play, getting you all set at Citizens Bank Park as the Phillies getting ready to take on. Who's pitching tonight? What do we got on the mound? I couldn't believe we saw a complete game the other day. Were you there for that? No, that game was. Oh no, it was home.
Yeah, that was the first one since I saw Zach Eflin pitch one in Pittsburgh in 2016. It was a long, long time ago. It didn't come from Aaron or Jake Arrieta. It came from Zach Eflin the last time, too.
Almost fell over when I saw that. In fact, I feel like I saw you tweet that. Vince Velasquez, who, by the way, been pretty good. 1-0, 1.99 in 4 starts with the Phillies. So he'll pitch tonight for the Phillies. First place against the Tigers, Citizens Bank Park, 7:05. And Phillies first place. All right, Frank, appreciate the time as always, pal.
Thanks, Mike.